So I think on a universal level, we can all accept that the current arc of Black Clover is pretty goddamn phenomenal. It has some of the highest highs we've had in this entire series so far, and I would suggest that it has had some small fleeting moments of, oh my god, what is happening right now? Where moments where I feel like the writing choice was probably not the best and stuff like that. So I was thinking about my biggest problems with the current arc of Black Clover. I was doing this all anyway for a future video. As I was reading through the initial portions of the previous arc for that particular video, one extremely curious and I would suggest extremely important facet of a character was left unexplained. This particular facet may seem minor when I present it to you, but the more I think about it, the more fascinating this facet becomes. And based on the answer or like the explanation to this, it could reveal a lot of interesting things about this character and maybe perhaps a character called Xenon as well. So strap in for an interesting video where I speculate like a madman as I try to put together 3 separate theories about one fantastic character that all cohesively come into one narrative circle that Tabata could be building for us in a very extreme manner that we've not been able to understand or identify just yet. Alright, cool. So let's wrap. What exactly do we know about this Moris? He was introduced extremely early on in the story. So early, in fact, that you wouldn't even know that he was a character that we were looking at that would be important later on. The man is 28 years old, from the Diamond Kingdom, ran experiments on kids, forced them to fight to the death, and implanted magic-enhancing gemstones on the victors' heads to repress their original personalities and bring out a lot more power. He uses these kids to form a new legion of generals in the Diamond Kingdom, and he was the one who was really running the kingdom at that point. He was manipulating the king, and he considered the previous flying generals or shining generals to be outdated and that the age of the mage warriors was upon them. After this, we learn that Moris runs to the Spade Kingdom after being banished because of Mars, and he starts his work once more in the Spade Kingdom. He starts making the candelos that suck out the mana of the citizens of the Spade Kingdom and works on bringing the frozen demon king giant thing back to life. He is able to advance Dante's body magic to a crazy level and is directly responsible for opening the gates of hell. He even seems to be possessed by a devil or has a contract with the devil, and the devil markings on his face are eerily similar to Dante's, who happens to be Lucifero's devil host. Out of all of the things that I just listed about him, what was most curious about him, or what was the greatest feat in the entire show for a whole chunk of the story, was the fact that he was able to forcibly get the knowledge out of a grimoire, number one, and number two, destroy and combine grimoires in general. This was absolutely insane because it is known that grimoires are connected to the souls of their owners, and we still don't know a lot about grimoires. Like, where do they come from? How do they choose their owners? What the fuck is up with Julius's grimoire? What is the 4 or 5 leaf clover equivalent for the other kingdoms' grimoires? Why are they indestructible? But here was Moris having actually sewn 2 grimoires to each other and doing more experiments with kids and controlling the whole Diamond Kingdom by manipulating the king. And not only that, he's able to open up the gates of hell faster than they're supposed to open. And for all of us, this man seems to be the most important character that we have ever seen in the story so far, who has been hidden in the background. If you're a One Piece fan, this guy is like the Vegapunk of Black Clover, but he's just been revealed much sooner, with the mystery still extremely mysterious, not being broken apart like we have with One Piece. I've said this a lot of times, but I think it's a really great analogy to compare these 2 characters. But now that we've laid out on the table all the things that Moris has accomplished throughout the series, let's ask a question that I think must be burning in your minds right now, because it is certainly burning my mind. How the fuck was he able to do all of this? Does he have magic that helps him manipulate spirits like Rades? Is Moris just that much more advanced in science than we or the rest of the Black Clover world can even understand? I remember a theory that said that he has sewing magic, and I mean, Fauna and Mars's grimoires were sewn together, but I don't think that's because sewing magic is the greatest power, something that can control souls in the entire verse. But to be honest though, Vanessa's thread magic did lead to fate manipulation, so who knows? But that's not the theory I wanted to make here. So the first question has been asked, and this is my theory to answer that question. So let me know down in the comments below, before I answer that question, what you think the reason why he's able to do all of this is. Do you think he has sewing magic? Do you think there's some other reason why he's able to do all this? But let's go back a few chapters to chapter 279, where it is revealed to us that Moris is actually a devil host. He did a lot of crazy stuff here. This chapter really was a game changer for the entire arc. He extracted Lolopechka's wisdom, and through that knowledge was able to figure out a method to decrease the time taken to open the gates. So we know all this, so why am I bringing it up again? Well, let's take a closer look at what this panel says particularly. To think that in exchange for being born blind, I'd be blessed with abilities like this, the abilities of a devil host. So this line got a lot of people thinking, so why does he say he was blessed with abilities for being born blind? Because the immediate thought is that once he came to the Spade Kingdom, he got a contract and became a devil host. The devil markings make it seem as if he's borrowing Dante's power like Vaneka's disciples borrowed her power, and most people theorize that it was Lucifero or Satan or Thaumiel or Beelzebub. I think they theorized that for Xenon as well, but I'm not sure. But they theorized that there were so many possibilities for this devil that Moris could be contracted to. But regardless of all of those theories, which I think might actually be really solid, one thing that we as a community, to my knowledge, have failed to observe are the flashback panels within that particular panel. The same panel where he talks about Devil amplifying his magic, we get the flashback to Moris's grimoire, the one which had been sewn together with Fana's grimoire. From this, what I understood, as you guys might have guessed by now, is the possibility that Moris has been a devil host for much, much longer than we thought. Much before going to the Spade Kingdom, it seems to me that Moris had the abilities of a devil host, and it was through these abilities that he was able to affect even grimoires. We know that forbidden magic is the forte of these devils. Forbidden magic affects the natural order of things in the world, which leads me to believe that all of his experimentation on children, magic stones, and other things which we have no clue about just yet was made possible probably because of his devil. So, if Moris was 19 when we first saw him, and it seems like they were around 15 years old when they got their grimoires when the battle happened, Moris, who is 28 now, was a devil host about 4 to 5 years ago when he was in his early 20s, but understanding what he's done throughout in his early life in the Diamond Kingdom leads me to believe that it's possible that he has had his devil powers much earlier than that as well. But for the sake of this theory, let's go with what is very clearly possible, that it was like 4 or 5 years ago that he got his devil powers. This could be the answer to a vast array of questions that we've had since the Spade arc began. Why did the Triad take the Spade Kingdom and then wait 17 years to attack? Why did it take Lucifero and Dante so long to get the Tree of Qliphoth going? Well, the answer to that might just be Moris. If Moris's magic is extraction and insertion, like we understand based on the things that he's done, it could be the Devil's as well, but let's just assume that it is Moris's right now, then it could be possible that Lucifero had to obtain Moris in order to make his move. Moris's intellect and ability to steal mana helped in bringing out the two demon giants and creating the Qliphoth. So after Moris went to the Spade Kingdom, suddenly their plans started to kick into high gear. They started making their Candelos, absorbing the mana from their people, invading the Diamond Kingdom and defrosting the Demon King Giant, and retrieving the Dark Magic and World Tree Magic mages. So we know that they used Candelos to collect magics, and we know that they brought out the Demon King to call the Spade Kingdom of the weak and attack the Clover Kingdom. Obviously, they also needed Yami and Vengeance to create the Qliphoth itself. So why did Dante have Xenon invade the Diamond Kingdom way back before the time skip? What exactly is the reason? What did they want in the Diamond Kingdom that they were willing to invade it when they hadn't done so for so long? And that is the second question which I will address in this video. So once again, let me know why you guys think that the Spade Kingdom invaded the Diamond Kingdom, and what did they have to gain by doing so? So when I thought of answering this question, the first thing that came to my mind was, oh, Xenon is just there to get Moris, but that doesn't really make sense because Moris does say that Moris ran him out of the kingdom. So Moris wasn't imprisoned or anything, and Xenon did not have to break him out. So from what we've seen in the story so far, the only things that seem to have come from the Diamond Kingdom appear to be the mage warriors. Xenon defeated them, and Vaneka is controlling them. We see some figures in the shadows next to Moris, who we can assume are the other warriors. Are they being controlled like the ones we've seen so far? Are they loyal to Moris because of the gemstones embedded in their heads? Maybe Moris ran them out as well and they followed Moris. We're not sure, but what's interesting to me happens to be the equipment that Moris has. It's clearly something that he's comfortable with, which means he's had this kind of equipment for a while, which he surely could have remade in the Spade, but I do believe that it makes more sense that Xenon retrieved all his equipment for him. And as established earlier, we know that Moris was delving into devil-related stuff much earlier than before he came into the Spade Kingdom. This would mean that Xenon has a better idea about Moris compared to the other triad, which could be more fuel for the theory that Moris and Xenon have a plan in the works that we aren't privy to as of yet. Personally though, I think that Xenon was sent to retrieve something from the Diamond Kingdom that would allow Moris to continue with his experimentation regarding the Candelos, because what's curious to me is why Lotus is with Moris at this point. Lotus was clearly on friendly terms with Moris, but we also see that he was a confidant to Moris during the Kaiten arc or Kiten arc. But we understand the kind of person Lotus is, and we understand that he probably is not the kind of person who would want to accompany Moris willingly to do some pretty crazy stuff, like letting a giant demon king out on the loose on civilians. So Lotus clearly bent the knee to Xenon when he attacked the Diamond Kingdom, but how did Lotus encounter Xenon? That's because I think Xenon targeted Moris's lab in order to procure something that will eventually change the status quo of this arc, like Moris has been doing since the beginning. And speaking of changing the status quo and experimentation done by Moris, let's move on to the third and final question. What the fuck is this thing on Moris's desk? It took me a long time to notice, and it seems almost like a random science thing that might not be important, but I think this is far more interesting and important than we ever will be realizing until it is shown. Moris is growing something inside this container, and it seems to be some kind of organism in some liquid. So I just want to give a shout out to Dark Knight on Twitter for putting this up on Twitter, and based on a lot of ideas that came out from that tweet, two stood out to me as very possible, and I have two of my own ideas on what it could be. But again, before I get on with my theory on this, let me know down in the comments below what you think this is. Alright, so one of the ideas that stemmed from that tweet was that it was a piece of Dante that Moris was studying, and honestly this seems to be the most unexciting but the most possible answer to this question. Dante was healing that container, and we do know that Moris enhanced Dante's regeneration, and it would make sense that he was just using it to test his experiments and get a better understanding of Dante's biology. Another theory proposed by WK Minato, who has a channel, and you should definitely check it out, and he was on the channel before discussing the latest chapter of Black Clover when Magicula came out. Oh my god, crazy stuff. He posts some great content, so again, make sure to show him some love. Is that Moris is creating his own spirit outside of the four great spirits that we already understand or know of. This honestly is a simply amazing idea. It's a little out there, but extremely intriguing in my opinion. It could open the pathway to various other sentient spirits who could potentially play a role in the story, because we know that Bruce, the hilt on Noel's wand, was made canon in the story, and even though that whole concept was just thrown away by Tabata later on, it still is canon to the story, so we could be seeing a lot more powerful things that Moris could be creating, right? Some insane stuff that could be happening. So my ideas, let's talk about my ideas. My first idea for this would be piggybacking off of what WK Minato said. I think this could very possibly be the Earth Spirit, the Gnome. It's been 300 chapters of Black Clover, and we've gotten 3 spirits so far, 2 of which have been tied to the Clover Kingdom and Undine for the Heart Kingdom. It makes sense that Spade doesn't have its own big spirit local to that area, because the whole country is shrouded in demons and devils, and in the current day, which seems to be the natural enemy of these spirits as we understand it. So this would leave the Earth Spirit for the Diamond Kingdom, as we've been theorizing for all this time. Since Moris was essentially running the Diamond Kingdom, it is extremely possible that he came across the spirit and has it locked up for experimentation purposes. Being the natural opposite to devils could be a great contrast, and Moris could be trying to get the understanding of the way that Saint Stage works in order to develop a countermeasure, considering he is a devil host himself and would probably want to know of all the things that could take away the power that he has within him. So the reason why I don't think it's a completely new spirit is the fact that we've not seen the gnome. So if this does have something to do with spirits, it would most definitely be the gnome before it could be some synthetic spirit that is outside of the 4 spirits that we've already seen. So that's my opinion on that from a spirit idea. So the second idea was the first theory that I had that made me want to make this entire video overall. The second idea I had was that Moris was developing a clone of Dante's body. Now, we've seen multiple ideas thrown around about Lucifero, and we know that there are the 2 three top devils of gravity, space, and time. So for this theory to work, I need to make another theory, an assumption about Lucifero, and set up certain things for you to understand why I think this is a clone of Dante's body and what Moris could want to do with it. So let's take a look at Dante's Inferno. In Dante's Inferno, which was one of the first and most influential pieces that depicted hell in the most visual of manners, the final level of hell is here. The biggest sin of betrayal is judged. Those who committed this sin of betrayal are frozen to their necks and are left to repent for their sins. Here, the most important aspect that we need to take a look at is how Lucifer is portrayed, or Satan is portrayed. He is not the ruler of hell or even this floor. Lucifero is actually one of the people being punished here because he committed the greatest sin of all. He betrayed God, for which he has been condemned to hell for all of eternity. The way that Dante depicts Lucifero here, however, is extremely interesting. Lucifero, who is also known as Satan, is portrayed as a giant demon, frozen mid-chest in ice at the center of hell. Satan has 3 faces and a pair of bat-like wings affixed under each chin. As Satan beats his wings, he creates a cold wind that continues to freeze the ice surrounding him and the other sinners in the 9th circle. The winds he creates are felt throughout the other circles of hell. In his 3 mouths, he chews on Judas, Brutus, and Gaius Cassius. I'm sure you all know that Judas was the one who betrayed Jesus by revealing his identity to those who should not have known it. And the other 2 were brother-in-laws who were the ones who were responsible for the death of Julius Caesar. So there's a lot to unpack there, and I'm sure I'll get to it in a different video, but the important aspect for this video is the 3 heads. This helps us give credence to the theory that has existed for a while, that the top 3 devils are actually Lucifero split into 3, and the devil that Moris is contracted to is one of these 3 versions of Lucifero. Remember, when Dante asks him, Lucifero says he definitely does not remember who Liba is, but we clearly know from the flashback that Lucifero would most definitely remember the woman who harmed him, and in turn Liba as well. So unless he's lying, which I do not think he is, I think there are 3 versions of Lucifero. The first one met Liba, the second one is with Dante, and the third one is with Moris, or is somebody that we've not seen before. So since I cannot confirm if the one with Moris is actually the one who met Liba or not, what I can say is that if there are multiple Luciferos, what happens when the final gate is open and he is able to come in? Will all 3 personalities merge, or will the one with Dante alone be able to find a body? I think this is where this experimentation done by Moris will come into play. Moris is extremely cunning and would not allow for his body to be taken over. He's not that gullible. Lucifero is a being of so many sins, so it would make sense for him to be proud in all 3 incarnations and want to be the only version of Lucifero that existed by absorbing the other 2. But if that's not possible, then they themselves would want to be alive themselves, not be absorbed into the other Lucifero. So with all of that in mind, what I think is the most interesting option here would be the possibility that Moris is creating a body from the DNA of Dante for the version of Lucifero who is within him to be able to occupy once the gates are open. I think this is really interesting because Dante's body is extremely suitable for a person who knows how to wield it and you wield it properly with the correct mindset. They could be literally the most powerful person ever. If Dante had not let Magna hit him with the Sultane deathmatch, there would be no Magna at all. There would be so many people who would just be killed if Dante would not just play with them. Right? If Dante had not been playing with Asta in the beginning, he could have killed off Asta. If he had not been playing with Yami, well, he did not play with Yami, but Yami was more powerful. But it was a battle of attrition where Dante had taken care of Asta earlier. He would have been able to defeat Yami, right? Dante's magic is insane. His body is the perfect vessel for any devil to want to be able to occupy. So, because of this reason, I think that Moris is building the best body for this version of Lucifero within him. So after this, we might get to see a power struggle from the various different versions of Lucifero if we get to see the other devils being defeated and the Lucifero is the only one left. This would create extremely interesting drama and character dynamics that would make very, very cool concepts come into play. But I think that's exactly what's going on here with Moris. I think that's the big play that Tabata has in plan for Moris. But let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with me? Do you think one of my theories would be able to come true? Do you have a different view on each of these theories? Let me know down in the comments below, and subscribe for more content like this, and like this video if you want to see more like this as well. But with that said, my name is Buzzer, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.